In this mini lecture, we'll look at Chapter 14 on leadership. Here are the learning outcomes for this chapter. You may pause here to review them if you like. We'll first start by looking at leaders versus managers. Leadership is the process of influencing others in order to achieve group or organizational goals. The difference primarily between leaders and managers is that leaders don't necessarily have formal authority to lead, whereas managers do have formal authority. In general, leaders are more focused on the vision, mission, goals, and objectives. They tend to encourage creativity and risk-taking in order to try to achieve a long-term goal, whereas managers tend to be more focused on productivity and efficiency, and may have shorter-term perspectives and be focused on how to achieve their goals in a more short term in order to have more productivity and efficiency. And honestly, leaders don't have to be managers necessarily, and managers can also be leaders. So sometimes they do overlap. Trait theory is a leadership theory that says that effective leaders have similar sets of traits and characteristics. And traits are relatively stable characteristics such as abilities, psychological motives, and patterns of behavior. Leaders tend to have drive, desire to lead, honesty and integrity, self-confidence, emotional stability, and have the knowledge of the area in which they're leading. All right, next we'll look at this concept called initiating structure, and this is the degree to which a leader structures their roles of their followers. So looking at things like how the leader sets goals, gives direction, sets deadlines, and assigns tasks. And a leader's ability to initiate structure impacts job performance. So your book talks about this concept of consideration, and this is the extent to which a leader is friendly and approachable and supportive and shows concern for their employees, which also then affects job satisfaction. So initiating structure and consideration impact job performance and job satisfaction. The situational approach to leadership assumes that in order to be effective, a leader's style depends on the situation, and I think that makes intuitive sense. And contingency theory states that in order to maximize performance, leaders need to match the situation that best, or leaders need to be matched to a situation or to a goal or a project that best fits their leadership style. So along with this is situational favorableness, and this is the degree to which a situation either permits or denies a leader the chance to influence behavior. And factors that determine situational favorableness include the degree to which followers and leaders have mutual respect and trust, and the amount that the follower likes their leader. Task structure is the degree to which the followers feel that the tasks are clearly specified. And then position power is the degree in which leaders are able to hire, fire, reward, and punish. Now, if a leader doesn't have formal authority, they're not going to have very much position power. And so that's all going to impact situational favorable. Hershey and Blanchard's situational leadership model basically states that leaders need to adjust their leadership styles to match the readiness of their followers. And so down here we have how much direction leaders need to give and how much support they need to give over here. So if a follower needs a lot of direction but not a lot of support, then you're going to use a telling. You're going to use a more directive style. You're going to tell people kind of what they need to be doing. If they need direction and support, then you're going to use a selling leadership style, where you're going to provide a lot of direction and a lot of support. If somebody doesn't need a lot of direction, but they need a lot of support, then it's more participating. So you don't necessarily need to tell them what needs to be done, but you need to support them as they do it. And somebody that doesn't need a lot of direction or a lot of support, you're going to use a more delegating style of leadership. Path goal theory is another theory in leadership, and it just states that leaders can increase satisfaction and performance by clearly clarifying and clearing the path to goals. So basically, removing any barriers that might be in the way of achieving a goal, and doing this by increasing the different types of rewards available when that goal is obtained. So in path goal theory, there are 4 different types of leadership. There's directive leadership, where the leader lets employees know exactly what is expected of them and gives them specific guidelines. There's supportive leadership, where the leader is friendly and approachable and shows concerns for employees and treats them as equals and creates a friendly climate. There's participative leadership, where the leader really tries to gain input from the followers to make decisions. And then there's achievement-oriented leadership, where the leader sets challenging goals and has high expectations, and really displays confidence that the employees will get the job done. Normative decision theory is a theory that suggests leaders can determine an appropriate amount of employee participation when making decisions. In this model, they have 5 basic types of decision styles. And I'll show you this on the continuum here. So anywhere from the leader solves the problem or makes the decision, all the way to the leader is willing to accept what the group decides. And you can read more about this as well. But I'm going to give you a couple of real life examples, or an example of maybe a more simplified version of this. So GE Aircraft Engines in Durham, North Carolina uses a similar approach as this when making decisions. At GE Durham, every decision is either an A, B, or C decision, and A is one that the plant manager makes himself without consulting anybody. A plant manager said, I don't make many of those, but when I do make one, everyone in the plant knows it, and I maybe make like 10 or 12 a year, so like one a month, right? A B decision are made by the plant manager, but with input from the people affected. And C decisions, which are the most common type, are made by consensus by the people directly involved with plenty of discussion. With C decisions, the view of the plant manager doesn't necessarily carry any more weight than those affected. And I think this is a really good example of how this normative theory has been put into place at GE Durham. All right. Excuse me. Next, we'll look at visionary leadership. So visionary leadership is a leadership style that creates a positive image of the future, and it motivates organizational members and provides a direction for future planning and goal setting. And part of this is charismatic leadership, and this is when leaders are just that, they're charismatic and they create strong relationships between them and their followers. Transformational leadership is a style that generates awareness and acceptance of the group's purpose and mission, and gets employees to see beyond their own needs and self-interest, to do what is best for the good of the group. And this includes things like charismatic leadership, inspirational motivation, intellectual stimulation, and individualized consideration. So here's some examples of charismatic and transformational leaders in the world. And you can see, and some of them on here are Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Condoleezza Rice, Winston Churchill, Osama bin Laden, Adolf Hitler, Bill Clinton, Princess Diana, Mother Teresa, Ronald Reagan. There are a lot of people on here, and what you will see is that not all transformational or charismatic leaders are necessarily the most ethical people. And so it's important to note that, leaders can also, you have to be careful, because when you're a follower, you need to be careful because leaders' values may not align with your own. And so we have had a lot of examples of charismatic and transformational leaders throughout history, and some of them did not use their power for good. And then lastly, we talk about transactional leadership, and this is a concept where followers are rewarded for good performance and punished for poor performance. It really relies on order and structure, but one issue is that it relies really heavily on discipline and threats. And so some examples of people in history who use transactional leadership styles are Vince Lombardi, Bill Gates, and Donald Trump. And there is definitely a time and a place for that leadership style as well. So that is chapter 14. If you have any questions, please contact me. Thank you.